Daredevil is sort of Marvel's masterpiece. From the storytelling, the cinematography, the writing, the choreography, the symbolism, the subtlety, the build-up, the payoff, the characters, all of it makes it the perfect superhero show. Every line, every reference, every single moment felt like the whole thing was intricately designed by people who loved the character of Daredevil. And it's infectious. Viewers can't help but feel that same level of affection towards him. You feel the heart-wrenching guilt and life-shattering consequences he goes through. I enjoy rewatching my favorite movies. They're only 2 hours long, and I love picking up on some new things I didn't even notice before. But getting me to do that with a 30-hour plus show? That's something else. Daredevil is one of the very few TV shows that has consistently brought me back for more. I can't even get back on Arrow or The Flash. They were great for what they were before, but now I can't stomach the newer seasons. Even some of the old dialogue has aged terribly.
A race?
Yeah, I guess. Think you can keep up, Girl of Steel?
Oh, just you watch Scarlet Speedster.
Right.
I still haven't bothered to watch any of the newer stuff from the other Marvel shows. The last one I saw before Daredevil Season 3 was The Punisher. I don't know. The others never got onto me like this one did. Matt Murdock is the most down-to-earth character in the MCU. He isn't the strongest hero. He isn't invulnerable. Season 1 shows this off really well. He almost dies like 5 times. The man is gasping and wheezing after fighting for so long. And had they done these scenes poorly, had they made the one-take hallway fight scene in a choppy, sloppy way, it would have made everyone stop watching after episode 2. It would have made it boring. But I'm glad to say it works way better than you could even imagine. It makes the scenes much more engaging, much more interesting. The action in this show isn't just here for the sake of some dumb action. It's not here just so you could see Daredevil punch a few bad guys. It furthers the plot. It drives the story forward. As the shot goes on, Daredevil starts turning more and more into a ragdoll. He just starts throwing his body around, hoping to hit them halfway through. Throughout all of its seasons, it shows you both sides of the story. The first time watching this show 3 years ago, I was kinda worried on how Vincent D'Onofrio was gonna be for the rest of the show. For the first few minutes he was on it, he seemed like he was speaking out of the corner of his mouth and under his breath. It almost seemed like he was talking while his mouth was full.
Be quiet for Mr. Toby. But I'm sure that will be settled to everyone's benefit. The city has suffered long enough under the burden of poverty and decay. I believe we have opportunity.
But in the end, that was the best choice they could have possibly made. You got the sense that that's how the character would have been after seeing his backstory. You understood how in his own little twisted mind, he thought what he was doing was right. You could see how, in his point of view, he wanted to make the city something better than it was.
You took that away from me! You took everything!
Even their weakest season, Season 2, even though it's the least coherent in terms of storytelling, it's still miles better than most seasons from other superhero shows. It gives you very different reasons to get behind Punisher and Elektra. They're not just reskinned motifs taken from Kingpin, Nobu, or Gao. They're their own things. The Punisher undoubtedly had the best parts from it. They gave him that monologue at the cemetery, the back and forth between him and Matt on the rooftop, the jail fight scene that I can't show because it's way too brutal. All of it's great. And Elektra, she foreshadows that dark side of Matt's life. She starts making him think twice about killing people as Daredevil. Maybe it is a more reasonable approach. Maybe it's the only true answer, and his sense of right from wrong has just been weighing him down all these years. And that leads into one of my favorite parts of the show. Season 3 and the show's entire writing.
Who are you? I'm Daredevil.
The writers somehow find a way to make the most unlikable characters the most likable. I was almost 100% sure that Bullseye was gonna be a no-show in this entire series. I always said that his character would never work on screen. He's just too goofy. Yuck! But this is just insane to me, because I think Bullseye is my favorite bad guy from the entire show. And that's a tough thing to do, given that Bullseye has one of the most boring powers in the history of superheroes. If you told someone that the best character in a realistic, dark, and gritty show would be a dude whose superpower is being great at throwing office supplies, they'd probably laugh at your face. 2018 in general has been the most creative year with the lamest superpowers. Mr. Fantastic pretty much defaced the image of stretching powers 3 times in the movies. He's arguably the least interesting out of the Fantastic Four, and all of their movies have been flamed 10 times over.
Flame on, kid.
Then you had Elastigirl this year, who made him look like a block of wood. She's parachuting left and right, catapulting all over the place, swinging, gliding. She's Spider-Man and Batman all at once. The Reality Stone, one of the more interesting Infinity Stones used in Infinity War, was ironically the most boring plot device in Thor: The Dark World. It was just a bunch of tentacles. That's all it does. It's just cool, I guess. Then Thanos came in and made it do what its name implied. He's turning people into spaghetti, changing the world around him. It's like it's not even the same stone anymore. And now you've got Dex, who not only ricochets baseballs and throws staplers, but he ricochets bullets off of walls based on the reflections from a hardly visible window. He's using snow globes to stun people. He almost kills someone with a f***ing microphone. A microphone. I think it's made very clear that he's supposed to represent the inner demons of Matt. From their outlooks on life, down to the scene of Matt staring at him inside his own devil costume, it's made very apparent. The fact that Dex's childhood was scarily similar to Matt's just makes this line so much more satisfying.
Who are you? I'm Daredevil.
I can't stress enough how much I love the way they wrote in the religious aspects in here. It makes the storytelling way more subversive than a superhero show should allow. That temptation to abandon your faith when you feel like you're at the lowest of lows in your life really rings true not just to religious people, but anyone. It's not so much about religion, as it's more so about belief. Sorta how when he's stripped of his fancy red suit and he reverts back to his black costume. It's not just something that happens or a cosmetic thing, it's more of a statement. Superpowers aren't what make superheroes interesting. Superman fans don't like Superman because he can punch his way out of problems. Spider-Man fans don't like Spider-Man because he can lift up heavy cars. Fans like them because they deal with real problems. It's the layers and depth behind them that make them so likable. And these people get it. We've all been there at some point in our life, where we're trying to do the right thing, and more times than not, things just don't work out in the end. Whether that be a relationship, a job, or both. Here, Matt loses his sense of identity by turning away from his religion, turning away from his own morals and himself. And that's what makes Season 3 so much more wholesome. A big chunk of Daredevil is defined by Matt Murdock. If you take Matt out of that costume, all you have left is the empty shell. All the bad things of him get left inside that suit. The rage, the anger, the frustration, all that's personified through Bullseye. Matt soon finds out that what he thought would work out for the best for everyone only made things worse. Karen almost dies, Foggy almost dies, the priest actually dies, and he learns from it. This could have easily been made into some sappy propaganda message for Catholicism or Christianity. And this is coming from me, a fairly religious guy. It could have easily been as generic and pandering as God's Not Dead 1 and 2. Those two are literal insults to Christians. It's an insult to atheists, and it's an insult to everybody. At the end of the story, the dialogue does get a little bit sappy, but it's built up and executed in such a way that sappiness turns into brilliance. I guess my favorite season of Daredevil would have to be a tie between Season 1 and Season 3. And it's not that the third is as good as the first. I actually think Season 1 is more evenly paced, but it just has much more heavy-hitting moments. It has so many well-done payoffs that were built up from both this season and the earlier ones. When Nadeem promised his son that he was gonna dig him a pool in the backyard, yeah, he gives him a pool of his own blood by digging his own grave. Or how about that one bad day Punisher was talking about, where Daredevil would get so broken that he just end up becoming the Punisher, not caring if he doesn't kill people anymore. Yeah, he almost reaches that breaking point here. Some of these things even have double meanings. That primal scream Kingpin tells Poindexter about whenever he's filled with rage? Yeah, he reaches that point too. There are so many scenes that happen in this season that have so many underlying meanings to them. It's one of the most satisfying endings to a show you'd see nowadays. There's never a moment where you hate watching Matt Murdock. I don't think you can be unhappy following him around in this type of storytelling. This is the perfect Daredevil narrative. Watching him succeed after seeing him fail time and time again is very heartwarming. Some of the most annoying side characters in the beginning of the show, Karen, Foggy, Nadeem, turn into the most sympathetic ones near the end. And that's the best possible way to subvert your audience's expectations. The parts you thought felt a little slow at first, when you look back at it, you realize that those slow build-up moments needed to be there. They had to be there for the resolution to have the same amount of impact. I don't even care if Season 4 tops 3. If it's just as good as it, then I'd still be really happy. Daredevil is the best superhero show I've seen in a long time. It's the best adaptation of Daredevil outside of the comic books. Which isn't saying much, since the other one we got was... not good. But it is, by and large, one of the best superhero adaptations put to screen. Daredevil is up there as one of the best superheroes to come out of the MCU. And might I say, Daredevil is the best superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, I honestly don't think this fight scene was that bad. It was totally, oh my goodness!